was on the application. Oh, yeah. Done for it.
And they don't, can never keep up with the roads.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Let's call the meeting to order, please. Today is Tuesday, it's May the 8th. We're here at the Civic Center for our regular monthly meeting. We'll stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know.
Glad that we switched calls.
I know it.
I was halfway through before I realized it was the wrong place.
Mr. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Here.
Ms. Albrecht.
Here.
Mayor Kathy. Here. Mr. Wallace.
Here.
Mr. Putnam.
Here.
Thank you. I don't have anything. Bill?
No.
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 Moving on. Citizens' comments. Come to the podium, you know the routine.
Never been here. Bobby Pollock, 215 Kim Cove. I want to ask this question first. Is the backflow prevented going to be set at any other time in the meeting? If it is, I'll wait. Do we know what we're
It's not
talking
on the
about?
agenda, so
Okay, I can start talking now. Got a letter stating that because I had a well, I had to have a backflow put on my water line. I do not have a cross connection. I never intended to. And in my opinion, anybody that has a well around here to put a cross connection to have one water go into your house would be stupid. Simply because of the smell and everything else. The city tells me that if I don't have this put in a month, cut my water off. Now, all these people that have the wells are going to have to pay approximately $200 for the part and get it put in. Just to say that they may be somebody in one of these years puts a well to their water system. Why should the citizens have to pay in case somebody does wrong? Should we go out and pay everybody pay speeding fines because somebody's going to speed down the road? That's not right. This was first started in 2005 ordinance 485. It is related back to a ruling, Florida ruling, about backflow and cross connections. I have just had to pay a good bit of money for the fire system. Now I got to pay another $200 in this. Does the city think everybody's just got extra money just to pay out all this time? Why did it have to be now to start with? Why are we trying to pay the fire system? I feel like I'm financially pretty well secure. There's a lot of people that's not. There's a lot of people that live here on a total fixed income. And you saying right now that we're going to have to pay approximately $500 this month, or we're going to get our water cut off, or we're not going to have fire protection. I think the council should be worried more about their citizens instead of saying, you just do it. It's okay. No problem. Thank you.
thank you. I'm going to reserve my comment on that till later. I have a comment about that, but somebody else might want to comment.
I don't like the idea either. But it's a department, it's DEP, who does all kinds of things for us that is for the benefit of the world, and you don't have to like it. I don't like it at all. You know, I've had my well, and I agree with you. Who's going to hook up a well? It doesn't make sense to me. But they say we have to do it. And you don't think so? You?
They say the city is responsible, I need to get back up here.
No, go ahead.
They say the city is responsible to keep this from happening. The city says, we're gonna make you responsible because Joe Blow over here made you do it. So Bobby Pollock has to pay this money
I have to.
instead of taking care of Joe Blow who doesn't.
Well, I know, but that's typical of everything that goes on in this city. If you stop and think about it, you know, we don't have a code enforcement person for the typical wonderful people that live here. It's for the nuts that make it difficult to live here. Now, I don't disagree.
It can't be harder to live here.
I don't disagree with you, but what I'm saying is, when is it they're coming to check our books? Oh,
They'll be here Wednesday,
Wednesday,
tomorrow.
And what are they going to look for?
If I could back up for a minute.
Okay.
We recently had an inspection of our plant and our records, and they've noticed 3 violations. 2 out of the 3 violations we've fixed already. The third was something that should have been done years ago, but never was. People in the office admit it wasn't done. People in the water and sewer department admit it wasn't done. So when we have a violation staring at us from DEP, we have to act. They've given us a deadline of March the 31st of 2017 to get this done. As you can see, we didn't get it done in March of 2017. But we have to get it done now because they will come tomorrow and inspect our books. And what they're looking at is to make sure that those certified little green cards have been sent to the 264 people. And they're going to make sure to look at our notes so that when we speak with people, we put down on next to their address whether they're going to comply, not comply, or just whatever. And so they will come tomorrow and inspect. So we got to have that stuff ready.
What if we don't meet their expectations?
Because we're making an attempt, they'll probably look the other way at this point. But at some point, the city has to make sure that this is done. It's going to take us a few months because we're going to have to physically inspect all these, and that's not going to happen overnight. We only got so many people.
So my board's gonna be cut off, they'll get it done by the end of the month. And if I don't pay for my fire department, then I won't be having
Well,
fire.
until we
By
inspect
the
your,
end of the month.
Bobby, until we inspect your place, we're not going to shut your water off.
Well, that's what it says here. Right here.
That's what it says.
All right,
I
let's,
mean, I think the city.
we got others. Come on, Bob. I saw your hand. No, not you.
The other Bob.
You already beat. Let's try to keep it. Remember, it's citizen
I'm
comment.
Bob Jim Brunsell. I live on C Street. We moved in here in 2005. In 2013. In 2014, we had an irrigation system put in with no intent of hooking it up, never thought about hooking it up to the water system. Like Bobby said, it smells and it's got iron, it's got everything. What I'm concerned about, I understand that this is a law and we got to do it. I have no issue with that. What I have an issue with is 3 people I know in the city that are friends of mine that have got wells that didn't get one of these lovely certification letters. I want to know who in this room here with you guys are going to go around and at least see if there's red stuff on fences and concrete and send letters to those people that weren't sent letters to. I got 3 friends that I've done, and they've got wells, but they were before my time and before some of them before their time, like a real close friend. Who are going to go after those and police those and get them? I don't mind paying this whatever $60 for the backflow preventer and the $100 or $200 for the installing. I don't want to do it because I did it right and got a well company to come in and dig my well, and then my next door neighbor or 2 doors down didn't do that or did it a long time ago, and now they get off scot-free. That isn't fair to everybody. My question is real quick, Mel, who is going to be going around and policing this thing so everybody gets dinged, not just the ones that had a well company that filled out a certificate that sent it to the state, and that's how you guys found out that I was on there.
Right, this list that went out was not generated by the city of Mexico Beach, it was generated by the state of Florida, because they have a record of, just like you said, when you get a well done, the certification goes to them. So it's up to us to try to find out other people who have put in wells either illegally or the records got lost. So if you could help us out and notify who those people are, we can certainly.
I don't get paid to do that.
Right. So it's incumbent upon us to try to figure out where the other ones are.
Well, it shouldn't really be too hard with how the well water in this town stains your concrete, your walls, anything else it hits.
Yeah, but the first step is to send these certified letters out first. The next step is to find out the other ones.
Okay. We're gonna try to answer, we're gonna try to answer your question. It may not be what you want to hear, but just give us a chance to at least, we're gonna do the best we can. Go ahead.
Lisa Logan, 402 Maryland. To that list of people who have wells or might not have turned their notices in, add those of us, myself included, who have received notices and we don't have wells. And there are quite a few of us. I have been notified by a number of people. My property has never had a well. So how do I tell the state that I don't have a well?
You call the Mary Leonard, and she will put next to your name and your address that you don't have a well.
There's quite a few people out there that need to know that.
That's fine.
And if you have a well and you want to discontinue having a well, you have to cover it in concrete. You can't just take the pump up. You have to fix it so it can't be redone.
Before we move on, did I see another hand in the back before we move from citizen comment? And I may as well say, my comment is that I was alarmed and very concerned that such a letter was mailed out that wasn't discussed at this table. I find that, quite frankly, unacceptable.
Thank you.
Okay? I speak for myself, but when we send a letter that requires action by our citizens monetarily, and as some of you have just come up here and said, bad timing, and it says in there, like it or don't like it or not, that wasn't our intent. It says that 30 days your water will be turned off, and that type of letter was mailed out, a list was mailed out, and in no form, meaning from an email to discussion at this table, to on any of the reports, nothing that this council received prior to that letter being mailed out. To the Public Works Director, I find that simply unacceptable. So, I don't like it either, in following what Jerry said. The DEP can make you do things that you don't, that aren't horse sense. I come from a horse sense background, and it's difficult for me to look at you and me, who not going to cross-connect anything, and know that we sent you those type of letters out. However, that is, as Mel just described, that's part of the DEP requirement that it could happen. More than any of that, I hate the way it happened, okay? And I'll leave, and that's what I have to say about it.
I have one question. What happens if we don't do it? What does DEP do to us if we don't do it?
They could potentially fine us.
Yeah, I think they like to do that too.
We're
Could
actually,
potentially get fined as well, have our license revoked as a city.
for we who have wells strictly for irrigation. I don't have any pipes going any particular where else. I do have one goes to another bib. Where does that really have to go? Does the letter, I haven't picked up the letter. Where do they tell you to put that?
Just on your side of the water meter, the one that goes to your house.
Does it have to be in so many feet of the meter?
It doesn't specify, it just says on your side of the meter before the connection is made to your house. We've been telling everybody to, within 3 feet on your side of the meter.
Well, if we're going to inspect it down the road, it has to be routinely put within so many feet for everybody for the city or anybody else to be able to inspect it readily, I would think.
We aren't going to inspect.
Well,
We're not going to
We're
inspect
gonna
it.
go dig it up?
Well, who's going to inspect it?
That's, well, you're answering
Well,
some of your own, some
well,
of this frustration out here.
We could just dig a hole and cover it up.
Well, as people call us and say they have it installed, we go out there
Oh,
to
okay.
look at it. If
'Cause-
they call us and say that there's a well or no longer a well on my property, we go out there and we check it, and if there's not one, we take them off the list.
Well, to mention the gentleman before, I didn't get a letter.
I've heard that quite a few times.
You know, and I have a well.
My question to DEP would be, if there's not a cross connect, is it mandatory?
We're meeting with them tomorrow.
I know, but if it's not a cross connect, why do, I mean, you can't get any more common sense than what we just heard here. You missed that, but people were, if there's not a cross connect,
That makes sense.
why are we putting this on people who aren't cross connected?
My question would be, how do we know there's not a cross connection? How can we be
Well,
sure of
then
that?
I
How do you
can
know
only
there
say
is?
that that's your question. You're not paying the bill. That's all I can say.
Well, I understand that, but
So,
Mr.
all
Mayor,
right, we're going, this was citizens' comments. We're gonna have to find a way to end this. It's not, we've tried to answer the best we can. I think I want everybody up here especially to have a chance to respond to what, but I don't want it to get into some,
no, the only thing I was curious about, I agree with what I'm hearing too, but this came up, if my memory serves me correct, about 5-6 years ago. And something
came up in '05
is
with
05.
RPZ.
What did we do? Because we didn't, it kind of passed on as we just
We
didn't
told
do anything.
We told DEP that they wanted us to put an RPZ. That's that thing above ground that you see people
yeah.
have rocks over so they don't see it.
Oh, okay.
A lot more expensive.
And they said, oh yeah, well, we don't really want you to do that. Well, but we sent out certified letters in, and that was like $500.
Yeah, I
for
remember
grant.
that one, yeah.
So,
Okay.
again, all right, any more citizens' comments? On any subject? All right, moving on. Next is the consent agenda. We have just the minutes from April 24th. Do I have a motion to, accept?
So, second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any corrections or additions? Any opposition? Let the record show it carries 5-0. Mr. Dewberry. Jeff, how are you tonight?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Good. Jeff Britton with Dewberry. Just a couple projects to touch on this week. First one has to do with the beach restoration project. We had a call with DEP today. Previous meetings with some of the different agencies have ended up with those agencies expressing an interest in the sand not being hauled down the beach and asking if there's an alternate route. And so we met with DEP today, had a call with DEP today. They're actually on board now with us trucking the sand up to 98, down 98, and through one of the beach access points to spread it across the beach. The positives to that, from the agencies, it limits the truck and shorebird nesting interactions, but also it's going to limit your beachgoer and truck interaction, so it's a safety thing. But also, getting the big dump trucks past the pier would be a bit of an endeavor. We'd have to shore up the pier a little bit, actually excavate down some so they could pass under it without the worry of them hitting the pier.
Shoring up the
So-
pier wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah. So anyway, the GCP application, Joint Coastal Permit application is scheduled to be submitted in about 2 weeks. And the plan for hauling is going to be taking the sand up to 98 and then down the beach through the existing beach access points.
Say that again, please.
The method for getting the sand down the beach will be from the stockpile location by the canal. It'll be trucking it up to 98, down 98, and then to the beach through one of the existing beach access points.
So we're gonna have to have people there to make sure people don't get in the way.
Correct. There's probably going to be, and we haven't talked through this a whole lot, but I would imagine there's going to be some roped off areas that'll be easy for somebody to get past if need be, but they'll also kind of delineate where the trucks will be moving. So everybody has an idea of when you really have to pay attention, and
Does that add to the expense?
it should not.
Well, we're going to have to tear up some dunes, aren't we, to make it widen up?
Well, they said if any of the dunes get torn up, they'll just have to be regraded and replanted. So,
Won't that be expensive?
not really. The sand should already be there.
They won't do, there's room to do that.
Okay.
And the plants, you can, if we needed to go ahead and widen it, you can actually pick the plants up, move them, and then move them back when you're done. It's less expensive than having to do something with that pier, removing piles, shoring it up.
I agree.
So,
Okay.
so anyway, that was the big news from the call today on that project. The DOT TAP grant for the 15th Street sidewalks, we've not heard anything on that. That should be in DOT's hands right now. Typically, we won't hear whether or not that's funded for another few months. The paving projects, 23rd Street, 33rd Street extension, and the Canal Parkway extension, those CCCL permit applications are complete. We're just waiting on those permits to be issued. And then something we'll talk about later, 36th Street Bridge utility relocation. We received bids from 2 contractors, and I saw that's a item near the end of the agenda. So that's pretty much it for our updates. Any questions?
Any questions? Any questions from our citizens for these projects? Thank you, Jeff, appreciate it. Chief?
Yes, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Alrighty, for the month of April 2018, the Mexico Beach Police Department responded to 444 calls for service, conducted 3,728 building and security checks, conducted 111 traffic stops, and that's during the past 30 days. Of the 111 traffic stops, 71 were warnings, 13 citations, and 11 arrests were made for the month. During the course of the month, we also made contact and took information reports from 35 citizens. We made contact with 8 suspicious persons and identified them. We responded to 4 business or residential alarms, responded with the ESU to 14 medical, for the fire and rescue for 14 medical and sick and injured calls. We dealt with 1 suicide by threat, 4 trespassings, and 11 noise complaints, of which some were the previous ones from Toucans where that particular DJ was terminated as far as employment. We also responded to 5 beach ordinance calls and 1 animal call on the beach. The 11 arrests consisted of 2 juveniles for alcohol violations, 1 warrant, 1 possession of ecstasy, 1 domestic assault, 1 possession and driving while license was suspended, 1 possession of marijuana, 2 in-state warrants, another driving while license suspended with knowledge, and another driving while license suspended with habitual. That means it's occurred more than 1 or 2 times. Just to show the increase for the movement, the amount of calls, this time last year, we had 309 calls for service for the month. And last month, as I stated, we had 444 calls. And going back, showing in the years past from 2014 to 18, and I won't go over all of them. 2014, we had 186 calls for the month. This time, this year, we had 444 calls for service for the month. So obviously, the city and the amount of calls is growing. Statistically, from 2014 to 2017, for the year, we had 3,219 calls for the year in 14. 2017, obviously we don't have 18 yet because the year's not over. We've increased to 3,714 calls for service for the year. We've also had a couple issues that I would like to make sure that we get our information out as far as phone numbers. The Bay County Dispatch for notification, if it's an emergency, you can call 911, or you can call the Bay County Dispatch at 850-248-2196. We've had a few issues with the patrol phone, so we're asking the citizens to call Bay County Dispatch because that call is being recorded, and they can also identify if it is an emergency, and the one officer that is on duty, they can get another officer from either Gulf County or Bay County coming this way. That way, we don't have to have a call waiting if they cannot get a hold of the patrol phone. Also, during the day hours, Monday through Friday, we have a station phone at 850-648-4790. And there will be a person at the front desk that we can get assistance to you. But we prefer that you go through Bay County Dispatch. And on a public safety notice, if any citizens have had any dealings with an electrician company going by the name of Acme Electrical Company, we have pending warrants for this particular company and one of the representatives. So if there is a citizen that's had any dealings with Acme Electrical, I would appreciate that you contact the station. Thank you.
Would you please repeat the Bay County phone number?
I sure will. Bay County for the dispatch is 850-248-2196.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Question for the chief?
Just one.
Yeah.
I may have missed it if you went over it. How many calls this year have we gotten total, do you know?
For this year,
Yeah.
I can't give you the actual breakdown because the year is not over.
Well, I know, I mean,
Right,
year to
but
date
for the
is what I'm
month,
saying. I was
year to
thinking.
date, I would say probably 1,800. But like I said, we had 444 just for last month.
Right, I understand.
So statistically, now, I don't know in years past how the calls were classified. We do get a breakdown by Bay County Sheriff's Department when I do my monthly reports, and it gives the criterias. I'm assuming that the same criteria has been used in years past, but I can say for the last 2.5 years, we can show an increase in growth on the statistics that they've given to us monthly.
Thank you, Chief. Questions? Anyone? Thank you for your report. Chief Simmons?
Yes, sir. The first thing I was going to bring up that's not on the agenda we discussed, Bay County announced that citizens would not be paying whatever portion the insurance didn't pay for EMS transports. After numerous discussions and trying to talk with it, that's not my department, but I was involved. Chief Bowens agreed to pay Gulf County, so Gulf County should not be sending you a bill as of May 1st if you're transported by ambulance. They're still going to bill your insurance companies, so you'll get your Blue Cross notification like they would normally do, and it would say I have Blue Cross. If I use an ambulance, they might send me a letter that says I owe $748. That's not to be concerned with, but if you get a bill for $748, not just the notification, that's where there's an issue, and either get with me or we can get with Gulf County and we'll get it covered. Bay County's going to pay for it. So we will receive that same benefit that everyone else is getting. And if there's any issues, I can help work with the relationship. It's somewhat out of my control, but I know who to contact to get it fixed, basically. Other than that, we've hired 3 internal applicants that either have volunteered or work part-time with us for firefighter positions. We've also posted for the 3 other positions. We already have, I think, probably more than 10 applications. I got to go through them all. They're coming from a couple different ways. The station's almost done. We're going to go ahead and put people in it. We're waiting on the kitchen cabinets. The concrete will be done on Sunday. And we're on track with what I told ISO we're going to do. And whenever we get our official rating of what he's told me to be a 6, I will let everyone know what's going on with that. That's about all we have for now.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
do we not have to have another piece of apparatus, bumper or something?
We ordered one. It's going to be delivered in November. It takes a while to build one, but yeah, it's going to be a new one. We ordered a mini truck, which is pretty cost effective. It was only $248,000 versus average fire truck is $500,000. We only have 1 engine now. I've also got an agreement with Chief Bowen that if that 1 engine was to fail, there's a truck that he's already gave me authorization to take immediately on a loan. So no matter what, we won't be without a fire truck. So the county is stepping up to help us with that.
And ISO will recognize that.
I've told him, yeah, he understands and he's okay with it. So everything's on track there.
Okay, make sure that, just, Danny did a good job, I won't say it again. Bay County citizens do not pay for ambulance service. We are covered out of Gulf County, not Bay County. If you get a bill, you are not responsible for that if you are a Bay County citizen, even though you are transported by a Gulf County ambulance. So don't, please make sure that you understand. That's a new policy that Bay County, so all Bay County residents do not pay for ambulance service regardless of where what ambulance transports you.
And I can help if you get that bill. I know the people to call, so if you just come see me or call me, I'll help you take care of it. It shouldn't be an issue.
What was that effective date again?
As of May 1st, so it's
No, it's-
backdated. So if
it
anyone
is
gets a
in a-
bill for a transport for May 1st or on, so the exact same as all the other Bay County residents.
Public Works Director?
I actually got a few things this go around. One of the things you'll see on the sheets here is that when we took over MX1 back in October 1st of last year, we accepted it with some issues on the inside of the wet well itself, the 90s that come out of the top where the sewage flows out. They all need to be replaced, gaskets need to be fixed. All that's done now, we got all that fixed and it's no longer leaking. Dredge department, they dredged 8 times last month. Even with the man down, Troy and Nick were still able to get the dredging done and get the vehicles fixed as they came in, tore up tractors and so on and so forth. So they've done an excellent job. If you go down to the sanitation end of it, at the bottom of your page there, you'll notice that we picked up 37,300 more pounds last month than we did the year before, which is 18.65 tons. The other 2 pages are just the ones that I attached with the monthly report to give you an updated on the water flow and the sewer flow charts. And the next 4 pages is the updated pages for the leave no trace. We haven't been picking up a whole lot. I think the Memorial Weekend coming up will be a good testament to how well this has taken hold, but it's been nice so far. Not a whole lot of stuff to pick up. That's all I got for the monthly report. Would this be the appropriate time to talk on the fish cleaning station or save that to later?
Go right ahead.
Fish cleaning station will without a doubt be open by the end of business day Friday, hopefully a little bit sooner. Got our signs to hang up. At that point, we'll be finished. We got the cooler under there, the pad, all that good stuff poured. So hopefully everybody will use it. Somebody used it the other day. Had a mess to clean up when we got there the following morning, but at least they know where it's at. So we're going to hang some signs up on the south side of the canal as well to let everybody know that we have a new fish cleaning station over there at the boat ramp on the north side and all that good stuff. So it will be open this weekend.
How do you propose that we adopt I guess almost a zero tolerance to fish cleaning that when we know that we see people putting things in the canal now? I think that we've got to be, and for me to say this, it's got to be bad, but I mean, we've got to have a zero tolerance attitude toward allowing people well, I've been doing it this way for years. I know the signs are going up and that's good, but if we get a report, is that a code person? Is that who goes? Is that our police department? How is that going to be handled?
You said you want it strictly enforced.
Well, I think we have to, and I don't mean that we, hang them at the gallows. I mean that we make sure that, hey, we got a fish cleaning station, and that's where you go. Even if they clean their fish somewhere, they got to take them over there and put them in the cooler and not throw them in. I'm just curious, how's the mechanics of that going to work?
It's ever who's available at the time. If code enforcement's on shift at the
Right.
time, then he would go out. Otherwise, it'd default to the police department. And keep in mind that in order to issue a citation, you have to physically see it, so you can't come in after the fact and say, this person over here says you threw these fish in. You can't give them a citation, but you can at least talk to them about it. Also found out that the MBARA folks are going to be kind enough to take some pictures and do what they can to let people know that.
What
you
did
can't
the
do
sign say?
The ones that are gonna go from the south side? Do not clean fish or discard carcasses into canal. City of Mexico Beach has provided a fish cleaning station at the Mexico Beach boat ramp. Please come and use her.
Okay.
Is there a fine associated with it?
There's no fine on the signs or anything like that.
Yeah, Nick.
My question is, can we lean on a state law violation? Because that's an easier system for us to prosecute. There's a process in place, and you can get to the
I'm
end
sure
result faster.
DEP's got one.
I mean, otherwise, we'd have to have an ordinance on our books that deals with this specifically, and our process for ordinances, we typically end up with the
If we
special
can't stop it
master
any
before
other
we have
way,
a real
then I
fine.
think I would be in favor of that. Initially, I would like for us to try to be able to respond, and I know that's difficult with the way we have a shift person. We've got to have a weekend policeman that's got maybe 3 other things to do than to worry. But I think initially we need to take some constructive, positive steps to let people know that, hey, we're not, because we've done that way for years. And it's going to be, I think the word will pass quickly because we have a great facility over there.
Right.
So, maybe at the marinas, we could if we got some kind of little handout, we could, like the marina, the condo association, a lot of those folks along that canal have their own fish cleaning tables.
Haven't made anything like that, but it wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't take, I don't know, 30 minutes to.
Just something to go hand out. Ask her Friday, hey, or, or.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I wonder if we did eventually look at the idea of the state law, and if there is a fine associated with it. I'm not necessarily saying, push the fine, but if there is one and one associated, we could always put a sign up
And I'd
that
rather us
says,
be pushed
state
into
law
that than
signs.
voluntarily just start that process personally. I'd rather.
Perfectly fine issue of warnings, but I guess what my point was is, if you have a rule on the sign, but you don't have something in the books to point to,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
probably has a hold up.
Right now, let's just try, like, what the wording he has, though, is gonna be, just don't do it. Go around there and put it where we designed it.
We're gonna put a sign out there, the blue and white sign on the north side of the bridge, just off of 98, that says, public boat ramp, I think is what it says. We're gonna
Yeah.
put another sign above it that says
Okay.
fish cleaning
If
station
you,
with
if
an
you
arrow.
can, and it's not labor intense, make up some kind of flyer that,
Oh.
that just, let's get the word out, best we can.
Give flyers to the harbor master.
CDC.
Okay. There you go.
CDC could print it.
I'm sure. I'm sure they'd be willing to just stand down there and pass them out.
I'll talk to Kimberly tomorrow.
I don't know if she's gonna listen. All right, city clerk.
In your packet is the finance report for the month ended March 31st. You'll notice one big change is going to be a decrease in a few of the expense line items over last month's report, and that is because we have created the fire fund, shifted some of that expense out of the general fund, so it's not going to show here. We're going to talk about the fire fund in a second as well. Your cash balances are on the back side of that sheet. Everything is in the positive. Life is good. This month also we've been busy with the hiring of a series of positions. We have 4 currently open. We have the water plant operator open, with Willie departing and leaving the city and Mary Leonard nearing that day that she's counting down to a retirement. We have to get some plan in order, so that has been posted. Also posted on Friday was 3 full-time fire positions. 3 of them have been filled with conditional job offers to existing volunteers. So there are 3 posted, 3 are filled. On the fire assessment topic, that is a new one on your back sheet that shows fire operating. Currently has a balance of about $300,000. We've collected about half of the assessment. It is not due until the 31st of this month, so they've started to come in rapidly again. But on that topic, I received an email from Sandy Walker. If the council is going to go fire assessment again next year, we need to have that ball started in June. If we're going to go millage-based, she just needs to know. So at the next meeting's agenda, I'm going to have an agenda topic relating to this so we can discuss. Are we going to switch to millage-based, or are we going to keep on with an assessment? Just something to keep in your mind for 2 weeks from now. And that's what I have.
I suggest that we do that at a workshop.
In 2 weeks.
I don't know, that's a big topic. I don't want to cover that at our, I think, I mean, it will eventually come to a regular meeting, but I think a workshop needed to kick that ball around, because there's a lot of pros and cons that
But-
need to be considered. And I
Yeah.
would think the staff would present some of those, or what, because some of the millage numbers I've been hearing,
2.13?
yeah, I think we've got to look at, I think if y'all are okay, I would prefer a workshop with that topic, with that
Sure.
topic.
So today.
That's fine.
You know, I mean, the date, other than the Monday, 21st or 22nd, is the only time I won't be here.
Oh,
If that's,
Oh, you won't be at the
I
22nd
won't be,
meeting?
no, I will not be at the 22nd meeting.
well, that's what we want to do.
I wouldn't put
Well-
it there anyway.
It's gonna be a short meeting.
Good. I mean, we can do it next week. Well, I don't know how much information how much time do y'all need to prepare for a workshop?
Yeah, to get-
Staff.
I'm gonna be out of town. I could be ready by Monday. I think everyone knows where I stand, but I don't, after the next week, I will be out of town for a class for 7 days, so that'll be.
And I think we know my stance is I can argue both sides, so it's going to be interesting how I present it.
And how much notice do we have to give the public?
It has to be up by Thursday.
Has to be-
at the latest.
So we can make the date today.
So how about next Monday?
Morning time?
Morning's fine with me. I don't know, y'all, is Monday good? No, Monday's, no, I'm gone. I don't have my calendar, but Monday, Tuesday,
I'm checking the Civic Center calendar.
Tuesday.
Tuesday's wide open.
is next Tuesday okay?
Fine with me.
What's that?
9
date?
o'clock?
The only thing I question on 9, I have no real problem myself, but there are a lot of people who have complained about being able to get to meetings, and since this is a hot topic,
Well, it's just
should
a
we make
workshop.
it
We're
later?
not gonna decide
Okay,
anything.
okay.
Yeah, but maybe in the evening, because the public will be able to come in the evening to see what's going on in the workshap.
That's my
Is that
only,
what you're
Well,
saying?
I
That's
just
my
know
only
there's as many
concern.
people at 9 o'clock here as there are now, but that's fine. If y'all wanna do it, I don't
4 or
care.
6? 4 or 5? 6?
I committed to chaperoning as a lifeguard.
Time, come on.
I don't care.
Nope, we don't care.
Got it.
What's the date?
The 15th.
15.
Whatever next Tuesday is, a week from today,
The 15th. May 15th, 6 p.m.
6 PM next Tuesday. Okay. That's gonna be a workshop. We're gonna kick some of this stuff around so that we can try to get ready to decide what we're gonna do. Yes, sir.
What is the, I have to give my taxes every year, and that's a great write-off if it's a village.
We're gonna talk about all that.
What would be the advantage of doing it like this one's gonna be done, where we can't do that, can't write it off?
We're gonna talk about that. There are some. For others, there's some, if you put it on the millage, there's some, but that's part of what we're gonna talk about. We're not gonna talk about it now, but we're gonna talk about it next Tuesday,
May
6 o'clock.
15th.
You got it?
How do you mean it?
Depends on
All
where I'm sitting.
right, any other questions for our clerk? Thank you. Mr. Administrator. You're up.
Thank you. As you can see on the screen, this is the update on how many building permits we have taken in so far the first 4 months of the year. I always like to point out 21 new permitted single-family homes this year so far, and 1 permitted triplex. Building permits traditionally spike up a little bit as the weather gets better for like HVAC and roof and that sort of thing. So as you can see, that's pretty much happening this year as well. Also like to point out that I could give Jeff an answer on the TAP grant for the sidewalk. The TPO met week before last and considered all of the projects. There were a total of 7. And they recommend the top 5 to DOT for funding. We came in 7th. The reason being, we don't have a school. There's 15 points in that formula for a school, and we're always going to be low scoring. So unfortunately,
We pay school tax, but we don't have a school. Plus, we don't get any considerations. I didn't say that.
also,
Yeah, you did.
Well, I meant it.
when it comes to the technical assistance grant to redo the LDR, that application was sent in earlier this week. So that's done and in, so we'll await the word for that. Also, the Triumph Gulf Coast application, if it won't be in the mail tomorrow afternoon, it'll be in the mail Thursday morning. So I'll let the board know that that's in the mail when I finally get it in there. One last thing, we have someone hiding out in the back row today, and I just want him to stand up to let the public know that we do have a code enforcement officer on duty. So if Mr. Michael Piccolo could stand up, he's our code enforcement officer. He comes from a military background, so he understands, you know, the chain of the command thing, being nice to people, things of that sort. So far, we're real pleased to have him on board. He's got a good demeanor. He meets people very well, so we're just blessed to have him. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Mr. Piccolo, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm going to follow up with one thing on Mel's report. Last meeting, he mentioned, as did Jeff mention, that the leased property or the potential for our alternate water source was going to be on leased property, that the sale of that property was not an option anymore. And we were concerned whether or not leased property would qualify under the grant. Our administrator raised the question of trying to purchase something from St. Joe that abuts our maintenance yard, water plant, maintenance yard, public works yard. I contacted St. Joe, copied mail on that. I heard this afternoon from them, and they are going to send us a map to look at what they would be willing to do. And as soon as I get that, I'll just send it to you, Philip, and whoever, just look at what they're proposing as far as the location. I told them it wouldn't help us if it's not where we can access it right from our existing property. There's no value to us to stick us somewhere. So, I did hear back, but I didn't get the map. So when I get that, and that's just for council information to explore whether or not this would be a good time to try to invest in some property. Our maintenance yard, doesn't take much to walk over there and see that we can't do but so much with that area. And if we can strike a deal that would expand our yard, this might be the time that we need to look at that. So everybody will know once I get the map, Mel can send that information so you can see what they're proposing. Needless to say, there was no price on the email I got.
Well, I think we know it's not going to be free.
I don't know how much they love us. I don't know yet. We'll find out.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for doing that,
But
because,
that's you'll get. I'll send you what I got when I get it.
right,
All I got was stand by. We're sending you something.
which is a positive thing.
That's right.
Much
It
more than
wasn't
we
a no.
had.
Wasn't
Right.
a no.
I did forget one thing. At the meeting in 2 weeks, I'm having our department heads prepare a list of maybe CIP items, capital projects that are a little expensive that, we know that you can't get everything every year, but we wanted to bring that list before the council in 2 weeks, so we can kind of get some idea what you want us to try to get in the budget. That way, come budget time, we'll already kind of have that talked out, and hopefully the budget season will go quicker.
Good. Questions for Administrator? Okay. Moving on. First reading of ordinance 696. Do I have a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any opposition to reading? Before we read, somebody want to give us just a quick overlay of what we're doing, just for the public?
Sure. Back in the 90s, the City of Mexico Beach contracted with American Legal Publishing Corporation to codify ordinances. And the ordinance up to that time was codified in a single book. That way you don't have to refer to each individual ordinance, and that sort of thing. This way it's all, looks just like that.
There you go.
Back in 97, we stopped. We didn't update it. So all those ordinances from that point to 2 years ago simply were just sitting in a drawer. We have our own 3-ring binder for all the ordinances that are signed by the council. So we reestablished that relationship with American Legal, and starting 2 years ago, we've decided to give them all the ordinances between 97 and at that time, and they've now codified those ordinances into that book. And so last year, supplement number 1 was done to take care of things that were done in 2016. Supplement number 2, which is just recently given to everyone, encompass everything in 2017. So this is the type of thing, whereas now when we go before the council and the public to change an ordinance, we can refer to the code section instead of having to refer to replacing ordinance number 100 and something from 30 years ago or something. So in essence, it makes things cleaner for the public. We have this available on our website, and it's a real slick thing to go on the website to look at the code, because you can search for things, you can print them out if you need to. So it's a real slick operation.
If I may, the reason really for doing an ordinance is we've had this code prepared now for over a year, but it's been continuing to be refined. At first it had some issues. The reason why I'm doing an ordinance is so when people look online and they see this code, they know it's the real set of rules instead of just a version of the rules that's not quite accurate. I think at this point we've been working with this document enough. We know this is reliable, this is a good set of rules. We want to formally adopt it so that the public knows when they go and look at the code, they're not going to have to go also look at the ordinances from 25 years ago and compare them and try to see if there's differences. And
So does this ordinance cover those supplements? Isn't that what this is about? Okay.
it would be adopting this book,
Right.
which Mel just gave me today. I think we've got these this week, last week maybe.
All right, we had a motion and a second to read. Any opposition? Please read.
Ordinance number 696, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, adopting the Mexico Beach City Code of Ordinances as supplemented through April 2018, providing rules of interpretation in the event of conflict with an ordinance, providing for codification, and providing an immediately effective date.
Thank you. All right, and that'll be moved for second reading for our June meeting. Okay. All right, moving on to other business. Mel, you're up.
As you probably know, our harbor master, George Conklin, resigned effective the end of April. We went out and tried to find a replacement, and after a little fun rigmarole, Al Hester is the new harbor master. And even though he started his duties as of Tuesday of the last week, we still have the agreement between the city and the harbor master that needs to be done. This is the same agreement that George lived under. But after speaking with Mr. Hester, we wanted to make the compensation paragraph read just a little bit differently. In other words, we guarantee the harbor master $10,000 a year. The way they get paid, he gets 10% of all the mooring fees. So what the harbor master wants done is, at each month, we pay him the $835.33, whatever that divides out to be, $10,000 divided by 12. So rather than him getting 10% above 833 every month, we wait till the end of the year, which makes it cleaner and simpler, and then we take 10% of all the mooring fees collected over the year, in this case 2018, and if that 10% is over 10,000, then we give him that figure between that figure and 10,000. So it's incumbent upon the harbor master to market the harbor and the marina, to get as many people in there as possible, and that way his 10% could be well over $10,000. Last year was a difficult year because it was closed for part of the year, so we expect this to go a lot smoother this particular year. So with the addition of this little change here, we're requesting
Everybody
that.
see what the change there is? Okay. So you're looking tonight to have the agreement approved with the app?
Yes, sir. The only change between Mr. Conklin's agreement and this one is what you see there in front of you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hester, we have do I have a motion on the floor to, or can I get a motion to accept the agreement with our new harbor master, Al Hester?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, should the motion, if you don't mind,
No problem.
could you,
Make a motion that.
with the change?
Yeah, make a motion that we approve the harbor master memorandum of understanding with the change as outlined for the last paragraph on compensation.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes. Thank you. Public Works?
I'm just asking for the council to surplus an old boat motor that we had on the old push boat. It's got a blown power head and a strip foot, and the cost to fix it is not worth the cost of the motor. We've got a new one that we bought 2 years ago. We no longer need it. We just like to get rid of it.
Does that require, we have to, because it's city property, we have to do an approval to give that to go on surplus there? Okay. All right. Motion to get rid of it?
Yeah,
Good
get rid of
idea.
it.
Thank you.
Get rid of it? I make a motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second to surplus the 90 horsepower outboard motor. Oh, I'm sorry, Rex second. All right, any question? Any opposition? All right. Record shows selling. 5-0. All right, here we go. Chief Simmons.
Okay, we discussed this before. We had an old truck that was bought used. It hasn't been operational since I've been here. I think we paid $5,000 for it. We kept it in hopes that we could get the AFG grant to get another truck. Unfortunately, we were denied that grant. We didn't even make it to the second round. It looks as though, similar to USDA grants based on property values in this area, those federal grants are just probably not likely going to happen for us for the big purchase items. So it's been out of service. We don't use it, and I'm asking to just get rid of it and send it to auction. It runs and drives, but it doesn't pump water. So it's just a big giant truck. And hopefully we recoup some of that $5,000 we spent on it.
All right, again, Chair will entertain a motion to surplus the mini pump.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Any opposition? Surplus, all right. Moving on. Special events, City Administrator.
Yes, sir. Even though the special events ordinance is listed before you, we are not intending to have a first reading tonight. It's just a presentation to get your comments to see if this new improved version meets your expectations. As we go through this thing, it has some definitions so we all understand what we're talking about. Special event is actually listed here. It lists who's required to get a permit. It says that once we get an application, we have so many days to get it back out the door. You don't need a permit if you have anything sponsored in whole by the City of Mexico Beach. Gatherings of 30 or fewer people in the city park. Funeral and wedding processions and parades involving 30 or fewer pedestrians marching along the parade route, but not on the street. It's on the sidewalk or the paved right-of-way. We have a permit fee of $100 for in essence, a major event, $25 for a smaller one. It has the provision whereas if the city administrator denies the permit, then it's on the basis of these items listed here. The city administrator can issue some adjustments to what they want to make it work. There's those requirements there. Make sure they are in conformance with other regulations about porta potties, electrical, building codes, things of that sort. Make sure that the city is covered by insurance required by the applicant. It sets forth the limits or minimums of the insurance policy. Provision to waive or reduce the limits if it's an extenuating circumstance. There's a prepayment of fees for events, should they be needed. And the hourly rate for all of our employees are listed there. If we give an estimate before the event of X number of dollars and what turns out to be the actual cost is less, then we refund the money. It also makes sure we get things cleaned up. There's a cleanup charge. The permit can be revoked by the administrator or the mayor for public safety purposes. Before it starts, there's an inspection required to make sure things are in good order. Goes through the violations, application and permits, et cetera, et cetera. And keep in mind that the CDC and the special events are excluded from the permits, the permit fee, shall we say. They're not excluded from the permit itself. They just want to make sure we have everything down, and because they are not really part of the city, at least they are in essence part of what Mexico Beach does. We've included the permit application. It mirrors somewhat what we've got now and a bunch of additions. It's got an application checklist to make sure things are good to go. It's got an agreement section so that we all understand what is expected of one another. And of course, our little parts where we sign and send back. So again, the biggest highlight is the fact that special events and the CDC is exempt from the fees, but no one is exempt from getting the permits filled out. So we have a record of what's going to happen and when.
Just some additional background. We work from an existing policy from another city. We reviewed some policies, found one we thought might be suitable. So if you have feedback, if there's things in here you don't like, things you want to change, we're totally open to that. This is the first cut without totally starting from scratch.
Maybe by age, and maybe by being living here too long. If it's 20 pages long, it bothers me. But I understand what we're doing. It has not been, does it have an ordinance
It
number?
was assigned an ordinance number, but at this point it's not ready for the first reading.
We can go get it online.
697.
697.
And the ordinance is 10 pages. The application package It's basically the same thing as
Same
the
thing,
ordinance,
yeah,
it's just
20
collecting
pages.
information.
Surely couldn't be anything added to that.
So, just for my understanding, as we operate today, what does this affect? Those things that we know that we've been having here for years, what does this change?
Very little of anything, except that we are requiring the permits to be filled out, and not all events have done that. And so that's just a formality of the paperwork.
So we do have somebody written down that's responsible for that.
Right, it's a scheduling thing, make sure we don't have conflicting events. But also, this also gives us a mechanism to look at larger events that are talking about coming to town.
But as we know our city today, under those things that are reoccurring and have been for a long time.
No problem. We're not
Okay.
gonna knock on their door and all that stuff.
I have just two minor comments, and one of them's a grammatical, I think. In 9814, it mentions fire marshal. I don't think we have one. I think probably chief. But the other one was in 98.2, I think it's E. That's where I believe it indicates the amount of time the city administrator has to either approve or disapprove. My question is, shouldn't we have something in there that also says, since this is a legalized type document, that if for whatever reason, and I'm not sure what the reason would be, but if the city administrator wanted to not table it, but request it to be presented to the council, maybe we have a huge event, instead of he just approving, disapproving, maybe it needs to go in front of the council. He has that right. I don't think that paragraph states that the city administrator can do that, either can approve it or disapprove it. I don't know if it needs to be in there.
That's how it reads, but the way that could work, if, say, Mel was presented with an event that he was uncomfortable with and thought maybe the council should decide, it's set up so if he denies the application, it then comes to you to decide.
Well, and Mel could bring it to our attention to begin with.
Yeah, instead of denying it, should he not be able to bring it?
That's the timing mechanism.
Surely we're not going to add another page to this.
We can adjust that. I mean, it was set up, I think the idea was to ensure that people didn't send in an application and it just sat for 6 weeks and they were not
Well, I
sure
think he
what
should
the
be,
answer
you know, within that 10 days, it should be given to the council. Whether it's acted upon by the council in that 10 days, that is maybe a different story, but at least the people understand that would ask for it, where it's going. That's it.
Okay? Anything else? All right. Well, you're still up.
All right.
This particular issue is very easily fixable. I don't know if I'm smart enough to get this thing turned around where we can see it or not, but it's it needs to be rotated somehow. Aha, rotate view. There we go. The issue is there is a good bit of the day a vehicle parked right behind that particular building, and according to our current code, it's an undesignated spot, and a ticket could be issued for that. We think the easiest fix would be to designate that one spot as a designated spot. I checked the number of feet between this little grassy island there, and there's sufficient amount of room with an 8-foot wide parking space there to get trucks or larger vehicles through there okay. I would not recommend going back more than just the one spot, because then we're into this flow of traffic right through there. So I would think that if the council doesn't have any particular problem with that, we can make that a designated parking space and it would be okay.
I'm fine, do it.
I'm fine.
Yep.
All right, we'll get it painted.
All right, are you up?
That means anybody can park there, that's correct.
That's correct. It won't have anybody's name on it.
No, Mel's not up. 36th Street Bridge, I'm sorry, I can't read what I'm doing.
My turn, yes, sir. The 36th Street Bridge, as we all know, that project's coming up. It's on the very last, well, looks like everybody's on it, but it's on the very last page of the packet. We got two bids, one from North Florida, one from GAC. GAC came in the least amount, which I did not expect that, but they came in, and it's a very reputable company. So we're asking that the city approve that contract. But before you do, I'd just like to give y'all some background, I guess, of how we led up to what we chose to do. We had Plan A, B, and C. Plan A was to suspend our water and sewer line across the canal at a height that boats can pass up under and all that good stuff, but then attach to the bridge after the project was over. Plan B was to dig a shallow trench across the bottom of the canal, lay it in there, buried up, once the project's over, attach it to the bridge. Those two projects would have been cheaper than what you see here, but because of the Army Corps of Engineers permitting, would not have allowed us to get it done in the time frame that we needed to get it done. So option C, which is the bore, was basically the only route we could go. So that's what the bid was for, was the two bores for our 2-inch force main and our 6-inch water main, feeding the north side of the 36th Street Bridge.
How we gonna pay for it?
We budgeted $84,017, which obviously isn't enough, but I'll pass that over to Adrian now to how to explain that.
We budgeted a portion from sewer impact fees and a portion from water impact fees to be brought in, allocated between the two accounts to pay for this. We are going to be 15,000 short, so the motion to award will need to also include instructing the clerk to prepare a budget amendment for the additional expense. I would say we use just additional sewer impact fees and water impact fees. The money's there for both. We just need to increase the amount we bring in.
And this is a direct bore.
Yes, sir, two direct bores.
Say one more time why we couldn't put the pipe underground.
The shallow trench. The Army Corps of Engineer permitting was 8 months, 6, 7, 8 months.
Up to 18 months.
Oh, 18 months.
The same issue that we ran into talking about filling the moat around Parker Park. Have to deal with all those different agencies, some of which do not have review timelines. They have to get back to you within a certain day, certain time period.
And that wouldn't allow us, obviously, to get it done in enough time.
Of course not.
What else is needed?
Okay, $100,000 to move that water line?
Mayor, I promise I prayed for it to come in a lot cheaper than that.
What's the alternative? What happens when the water line going on down the road? What if we terminate that line and feed that section of town from another place?
The bore?
No. Can we not service, is this sewer and water?
This is sewer and water.
But if you terminate the water line at the bridge, there's other places to feed that section of town.
The only thing we have on the other side, or down there at the end of the cul-de-sac, is a 2-inch. That's the largest thing we've got down there.
Oh, that's the largest line.
And we don't have any sewer through there.
Well, I knew we didn't have any sewer.
2 inches is the largest that we've got down there at the end of the cul-de-sac inside the boat ramp area. But that's still fed off of the 6 coming across the bridge now.
Oh, it's not, we have no feed from,
98, no, sir. Nothing coming into from 98 to the boat ramp.
okay, you need action on this? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
what you? All right, we have the low bid of $100,000 from GAC.
I have this one written a certain way, so whoever makes the motion. include that you need a budget amendment prepared, please.
Say that again for whoever's gonna make it.
Whoever makes the motion, include in the motion the preparation of a budget amendment too, so we know that it's being prepared to fund it.
All right, I'm waiting.
I was trying to wait.
You don't know what to say, that's what you're doing. I know what you're doing.
All right,
So-
There you go, Linda's ready to do it,
All right,
now,
so
go.
I'll make a motion to accept the GAC low bid for the 36th Street utility relocation based on the proposed budget amendment. What?
Okay?
You gotta add a little to that, right?
Yeah.
Somebody should second and then I'll read what I got.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, here's what I heard. I heard a motion by Ms. Albrecht and a second by Mr. Wallace to award the bid for the 36th Street utility relocation to GAC in the amount of $100,000 and instructed the city clerk to prepare a budget amendment for the additional expense over the amount budgeted for the project.
I heard that.
I did too. That was well
Very
said,
good.
Linda.
It was.
Let's don't talk about it
For
anymore.
repeating me correctly.
All right.
Well done.
Now, any opposition to that? No. Everybody's good. 5-0, let the record reflect. Miscellaneous, there's nobody's named by that, so I guess anybody can speak up. Do we have any miscellaneous? Mr. Attorney, you have any news for us? Of anything that,
Only if you have any questions for me.
We don't have any.
okay.
Questions are free. Questions are free right now.
I know, but I don't have it. Well, I did, but I've already asked him that, so, and he didn't know the answer, so I'm not gonna ask him for that.
I move we adjourn.
Motion for adjournment.
One thing to add.
Oh, yeah.
Two questions that were brought up earlier from councils on enforcement for the fish cleaning station.
Yes.
There is a Florida statute on that, 404.41315. It states in it, and I won't go into it because I've been reading it for the last 20 minutes, 15 pounds or less, or to include 27 cubic feet. It is a civil infraction, penalty of $100, to which $50 would be deposited to Waste Management for their services, I guess, for the cleanup. But the main thing that they're asking is for education, as you mentioned earlier. And if it's in excess of 15 pounds, it is and it's non-commercial, it is a misdemeanor charge.
It's pretty easy.
Well, I think in our fishing village that people, I really, really am hoping that they will use this great facility. I mean, we put a lot of time, effort, energy into it, and I think if we let them know it's there, I just was thinking ahead of, let's don't cut them too much slack. And if all we can do initially is make them feel bad, is just make them feel bad. Make them get them out.
The questions you had asked as far as the total counts, as far as calls for service, I was guessing 18, not having the numbers. I did verify our count call right now is 1,689 calls for service for our reports and volume.
I move we adjourn.
All right, thanks everyone for coming.
And thank you, Chief.
I'm gonna make it.